Well, please welcome Aramis Ayala, who is a Democratic candidate for Attorney General. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You were a prosecutor in Orange and Osceola counties. Outside of that area, so in ours and much of the rest of the state, you're best known for your opposition to the death penalty. And the reason is you would not seek it in a specific case, and former Governor Scott then reassigned your other capital murder cases to a different state attorney, correct?
That is correct.
For clarification, that was the Markeith Lloyd case. Did you oppose it in that case or all others with no exceptions?
When it started with that case, that was one of the first cases that hit my desk shortly after I became the state attorney in 2017. And when it came up as an issue, I started doing the research. And I didn't just research it in that case. I looked at my platform, which was evidence-based policies, and I started to look at how much money we spend. In the state of Florida, we spend $51 million every single year to have the death penalty. So one of my commitments being fiscally responsible, that was a concern. Moved on to determine whether or not it was a deterrent. And all of the research establishes that death penalty is not a deterrent. The states that have the death penalty actually have higher homicide rates than those that don't. And then you start looking at the other parts of it. In Florida, we lead the nation with death row exonerations, meaning we get it wrong the most. So if we're going to look at a policy and move forward, it should not be a failed policy. It is often easy to look at the very difficult, horrific, horrible cases and want to then justify a horrible, ineffective policy. And I made a decision that I could not find any justice in the pursuit of the death penalty, and having sworn and taken an oath to pursue justice, there was no justice in that.
In any case, so there is no daylight for an exception like the Parkland mass killer.
When it comes to that, it's very easy for us to change based upon our emotions. And I try to remind people that justice and the oath for justice doesn't have emotions. We have a right to be concerned. We have a right to feel it. But the goal is to never lose who we are. We must lead with humanity. And there is no humanity, nor is there any other justification.
President Biden and President Obama, who both in a different kind of way got the death penalty for leadership of Al-Qaeda, the masterminds of 9/11. If they had been caught, tried, and convicted in Florida for what they did, would you consider the death penalty in that case?
It is important to recognize that the law has been clear. There was no law prior to my decision. So because I will follow the law and the court said that it must be considered, I would have to consider it. I would look at all of the things that I shared with you that are concerns about the death penalty, go through each part of that process, and then make a decision. But I think that it has to be considered as the law has been written, and that is my responsibility.
Based on your general opposition to the death penalty, let's consider the possibility that you win. That's a real possibility. Let's consider the possibility that Governor DeSantis wins re-election. That's a real possibility. Now you're serving together. What would you do if he seeks a legal advisory opinion from you on whether or not he has the power to suspend you?
When it comes to the issue of suspension, I think people have to remember that those positions are duly elected. And if the people have elected a person, such right here you all have, Andrew Warren, State Attorney Andrew Warren, it's important to recognize that this is all continuing to undermine the right to vote. The people elected him. He didn't even win by popular vote in Hillsborough County, but he's now taking the power of a person who did. So when you're talking about advisory opinions, when you're talking about the will of the people, it is important to always move forward and uphold that very fundamental right that some people have died for, which is the right to vote.
Okay, let's play it out. You win, he wins, then he suspends you. You would say on baseless grounds, but he would say he has basis for doing it. What specifically would you do then?
I'm not concerned about being suspended by the governor because I follow the law. I'm not concerned about his actions because I uphold the law.
Do you think the governor's doing anything to not follow the law?
I think that he's absolutely violating all of the Constitution. When you promote and you pass unconstitutional laws, when you know that they are written unconstitutionally vague, when you know that they are written in violation of the United States laws as well as the Florida right to privacy, you are going forward and moving in a direction that is inconsistent with the legal grounds upon which we the people stand.
Would you pursue a criminal investigation of Governor DeSantis?
It depends on what the circumstances are. I am completely open to recognizing that his conduct is concerning. His conduct definitely raises red flags. I think that it is unconscionable for candidates to make presumptions on what they would do moving forward. However, looking at what he has done, my focus would continue to be the people. And if he has violated the rights of the people like I see he has, like we're witnessing with these laws, then absolutely I'm going to first protect the people and then pursue the consequences for those who violate the law.
Would you defend the state of Florida against civil litigation if you disagree with the policy and agree with the position of the plaintiffs?
It's not about whether or not you disagree with the policy. It's whether or not it is consistent with the Florida Constitution and the laws. If it is inconsistent with the Constitution, I took an oath as a licensed attorney in the state of Florida to uphold the Constitution, not to support illegal and unconstitutional laws drafted by a legislature and signed by a governor. So my oath would be the primary upholding of the Constitution, which would be the only thing that I would stand by.
One of your other big responsibilities would be protect consumers, the people of Florida, from fraud.
Yes, sir.
You've made reference to your belief that there is a good deal of fraud in the insurance industry.
Absolutely.
What specifically are you referring to? How do you know, and how would you root it out?
What I'm concerned about is, having been on the campaign trail and actually being a Floridian myself, what you're seeing are these insurance companies. They're collecting funds from individuals, premiums, monthly and multiple times throughout the year. And then we've seen many of them go into ruin, and now they're bankrupt, and people are left here during hurricane to fend for themselves. At this point, we have to make sure that this is legitimate. If you have collected money from people and you haven't paid out, where has that money gone? What type of business practices are occurring? That is exactly what consumer protection is. It certainly has to do with housing, but it is going to be for any type of fraudulent behavior that impacts the people. The consumer division of the Attorney General's office is to protect people from financial ruin. And when people end up in worse positions after paying corporations money, that is the Attorney General's solemn duty to ensure that they are protected.
Well, the carriers and the insurance lobby would say that money is being taken up in the soaring costs of reinsurance. It's being taken up by roofing fraud, not the insurers themselves. It's being taken up by lawsuit abuse. Are you seeing something different within the insurance companies themselves?
I think that that's where investigations come out. The Attorney General can't make an assumption on what is happening. It is about time to investigate, and after you investigate, you expose the truth, and if there are legal violations, then you litigate. It is a process. You don't put the cart before the horse. You have to investigate. It is certainly concerning, and because of the concern, that is the reason that I would institute investigations.
Aramis Ayala, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, sir.